The galaxy was wide, full of light and power, but for the Veyari it had become a place of silence. Their world, Veyar Prime, was once green and bright. Great rivers ran through its valleys, and crystal towers shone in the sunlight. But now, the skies were dark. A sickness had spread from one star system to another, faster than their doctors could understand. The Veyari called it the Grey Blight. It began with crops turning to dust. Soon it moved to animals, then to people. Entire cities fell silent. The leaders of the Veyari Council knew their science was too weak. They were not one of the great empires. Their fleets were small, their technology only average. But the galaxy was full of powers greater than them. The Galactic Alliance had always spoken of unity, peace, and shared survival. Surely, help would come. So they sent the call. The first message was sent to the Kalari Dominion, masters of medicine and biology. The reply came quickly, but it was cold. Your sickness is dangerous. We cannot risk spreading it to our worlds. Our borders remain closed. Do not approach. The Veyari counselors tried again. They contacted the Sithari clans, known for their fleets and power. The answer was the same. We regret your suffering, but your problem is your own. One by one. They reached out to every powerful species they had ever known, every ally they had ever trusted. One by one, the answers came back. No. At first, the people of Veyar Prime waited, believing the silence was temporary. Surely, someone would care. Surely someone would risk something for them. But weeks passed, then months. Entire provinces fell to hunger. Families left their homes, only to collapse on the empty roads. The council sat in silence during their meetings, ashamed. Their people looked at them with hopeless eyes. The message was clear. The galaxy had turned its back. For the first time, in their history, the Veyari felt truly alone. In the capital city of Carrion, a young counselor named Tayla Varn stood before the great glass window of the chamber. She watched the empty skies and whispered, "Why will no one come?" Her elder, High Speaker Maller, answered, his voice heavy with despair. "Because we are weak, and the galaxy only respects strength." Tayla clenched her fists. "Then we are finished." Maller did not reply. There was nothing left to say. But then, something strange happened. One morning, when the skies were dark with dust storms, a technician rushed into the council chamber, his breathing fast. "We have a signal," he said. The counselors barely looked up. Over the past months, signals had only brought bad news. But the technician's voice shook. "It is not from the Alliance, not from any great empire." Tayla frowned. "Then who is it from?" The technician hesitated, then spoke the name like it was strange on his tongue. "Humans." The room went silent. Everyone had heard of humans, of course. They were newcomers, barely 100 years in space, a small species from the edge of the Orion Arm. They had no great fleets, no vast empire. They were seen as reckless, emotional, and loud. In galactic politics, they had little voice. Many counselors had laughed at their clumsy ships, their noisy speech, their strange bravery in battles they could not win. "What do they want?" Mailler asked. The technician swallowed. They say they want to help." The chamber erupted with voices. "Impossible! Why would they risk themselves? They are too small to help anyone." Tayla silenced them with a raised hand. "Play the message." The technician pressed the controls. At once the chamber filled with a voice, rough, deep, but strangely warm. "This is Captain Jonathan Hale of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. We know others have ignored you, but we won't. Humanity knows what it is to suffer alone. We're coming. Hold on." The message ended. The chamber stayed quiet for a long time. At last Maller spoke. His voice was heavy with disbelief. "This is madness. They are too far. They have too little. They cannot save us." But Tayla felt something she had not felt in months. Hope. Perhaps, she whispered, they are the only ones who care. The news spread quickly through Vayar Prime. At first the people laughed. Humans, those strange primitives, they cannot help us. Others were angry. The great empires abandoned us, and we are to be saved by children. But in the faces of the starving, in the tears of parents holding dying children, even the smallest hope became a light. Days passed, the skies above remained empty. Some began to believe the humans' promise was a lie, a cruel trick. Then one night, the stars changed. The watchtowers of Carrion lit up with alarms. Objects had entered orbit. The people rushed into the streets, staring at the heavens. And there, they saw them, rough gray ships with square hulls and glowing engines. They were not sleek like Kalari vessels, nor beautiful like the Sithari cruisers. These ships looked patched together, scarred, and strong. But they were real, and they had come. The first human ship descended through the dust clouds. Its hull, marked with strange symbols, UEFS Resolute. It roared like thunder as it landed on the broken plains outside the capital. The Vayari gathered at the edge of the landing field, silent. Their hearts beat fast. No one had come for them in all these months. But now these strangers, these humans, had crossed the stars to stand on their soil. The ship's doors opened. Figures walked out, tall, broad, dressed in strange armor. Their faces were uncovered, showing eyes that burned with determination. The leader, Captain Hale, stepped forward and raised a hand in greeting. "We heard your call," he said simply. "We're here to help." The Vayari stared, speechless. For the first time in months, Taylor Varn smiled. The arrival of the humans was small, almost pitiful compared to the might of the great empires. Only a handful of ships, only a few hundred people. But in the eyes of the Vayari, they were giants. They brought crates of medicine, machines to clean water, and food supplies. They brought engineers who spoke quickly and worked with their hands, fixing broken power lines, repairing farms, building shelters. They brought soldiers too, who stood guard at the borders, rifles ready. Not because they were ordered to, but because they refused to let desperate scavengers prey on the weak. The galaxy had abandoned the Vayari. But the humans had not. At night in the city of Carrion, Taylor walked among the humans as they worked. She watched them laugh even while tired, share food with strangers, and treat sick children with gentle hands. She felt her chest tighten with emotions she could not name. She whispered to herself. When no one else answered, the humans came. The gray ships of humanity did not shine with beauty. They were not polished like Kalari vessels or smooth like Sithari cruisers. Instead, they looked heavy, full of scars, as if they had been through storms and battles. But when they descended on Vayar Prime, the people did not see their shape. They saw something far more important: hope. For months, the skies had been empty. Now they were full of noise, fire, and life. The first human landing team spread quickly across the ruined plains outside the capital city. Their boots were thick, their tools noisy. The air was hot with dust, but the humans did not slow down. Captain Jonathan Hale stood tall as he looked over the ruined fields. His uniform was dirty from the landing, his voice rough but calm. Around him, Vayari counselors gathered nervously. Taylor Varn, the youngest of them, stepped forward to greet him. "You really came," she whispered, as if still unsure this was real. Hale nodded. "Of course we did. You asked for help." The words were simple, but they struck deep into the hearts of the Vayari. Within hours, the humans were moving. They unloaded heavy machines from their ships, metal boxes with wheels, pipes, and spinning blades. The Vayari had never seen such crude equipment before. Their own machines were delicate, smooth, designed to avoid hard labor. But the humans' machines roared like beasts. They cut through broken ground, digging trenches, clearing rubble and repairing water lines. Vayari citizens stood watching in silence, unable to believe their eyes. "Do they not tire?" one elder whispered. "They look like they fight the ground itself," another said. The truth was simple. Humans did not care about elegance. They cared about results. And soon, clean water began to flow again in Carrion. Children filled their cups with trembling hands, drinking fresh drops for the first time in weeks. In the hospitals, human medics spread out. They carried heavy bags full of strange tools and chemicals. The Veyari doctors were doubtful at first. Their science was precise, slow, built on long rituals of care. But the humans were fast, almost reckless. A child lay coughing, the gray blight in his lungs. A human medic named Sarah Quinn knelt beside him. Without hesitation, she pulled out an injector, filled it with a glowing blue liquid, and pressed it into the child's arm. The Veyari doctor gasped. "You don't even know if it will work on his species." Quinn gave him a sharp look. "If we wait, he dies. I'd rather try." Minutes later, the child's coughing slowed. His breathing steadied. His mother fell to her knees, tears running down her face. Word spread through the city like fire. The humans save lives. Food came next. The humans had brought crates filled with strange dried blocks, powders, and packets. At first, the Veyari refused to eat. "This is not food," they said. Hale only laughed. "It's food for soldiers. Not pretty, but it keeps you alive." To prove it, he tore open a packet and chewed the tough block himself. His jaw worked hard, but he smiled as he swallowed. "See? Perfectly safe." Slowly, carefully, the Veyari tasted the human rations. The flavor was strange, salty and dry, but their stomachs grew full for the first time in months. Children smiled as they licked the crumbs from their fingers. One old Veyari whispered, "It tastes of dust and stone, but it is the taste of life." The humans did not only bring supplies, they also brought soldiers. These men and women wore heavy armor, their rifles glowing with blue light. At first, the Veyari thought this was foolish. "The great powers refuse to come," they said, "because the blight is dangerous. Yet these humans risk their soldiers. For us?" But soon the reason became clear. The blight had not only weakened the Veyari, it had also drawn predators. Bands of scavengers and pirates had begun to raid villages, stealing food and technology from the dying people. Until now, no one had the strength to fight them off. But when the next raider group approached Carrion, the humans were waiting. The night was dark when alarms rang. Dozens of armed scavengers rode hoverbikes into the outskirts of the city. They laughed as they fired into the air, expecting no resistance. But then human soldiers rose from the shadows. They did not shout. They did not waste time. Their rifles thundered, their bullets cutting through the air. Explosions lit the night sky. The scavengers screamed, their hoverbikes falling in flames. The survivors turned to flee, but humans chased them, firing with deadly precision. When the battle was over, the ground was quiet again. Human soldiers dragged the captured raiders into the open. Captain Hale stood over them, his voice cold. "You prey on the weak," he said. "Not anymore. This world is under our protection now." The Veyari who had watched the fight from their windows stared in shock. They had never seen soldiers fight like this, fast, ruthless, without hesitation. The next morning, word spread across Veyar Prime. "The humans fight for us. The scavengers fear them. Still, not everyone trusted them." In the council chamber, arguments burned. High Speaker Mallor shook his head. "They are reckless. Their medicine is crude, their food is tasteless, their soldiers are violent. They are not like the great species, they are dangerous." Telavarn replied calmly, "Yes, dangerous to our enemies. Dangerous to death itself. Would you rather have silence? Or these noisy humans who save our children?" The chamber fell quiet. Even Mallor had no answer. Days became weeks. Everywhere the humans went, they left behind strength. Villages that had been abandoned were rebuilt with their machines. Families that had been starving now shared rations. Children who had been dying ran through the streets again. And always, the humans worked with their own hands. They did not sit in ships above the sky. They did not watch from a safe distance. They sweated in the fields, bled in the hospitals, fought in the alleys. The Veyari watched them with wonder. Other species had claimed to be advanced, wise, or civilized, but none had cared enough to come. The humans, strange and flawed, had done what no one else dared. One evening, Taylor walked with Captain Hale along the edge of the city. The sky was red with sunset. In the distance, she could see human machines, digging new water lines. "You risk much for us," she said softly. Hale shrugged. "Risk is part of life." "But why?" she asked. "You gain nothing. You are not paid. You are not promised land or power. Why do you help us?" Hale looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because we remember what it feels like to be alone. On Earth, our history is full of times when no one came to help us. We swore that if we ever had the power, we would not let others suffer the same way." Taylor's eyes widened. No other species had spoken to her like this. Not of duty, not of politics, but of simple choice. She whispered, "Perhaps you are not as small as the galaxy thinks." Hale smiled faintly. "Perhaps the galaxy is not as big as it thinks." As night fell, the lights of human camps glowed across the plains. The sound of their machines echoed into the darkness. The Veyari lay in their homes, their bellies full, their children safe, their hearts lighter than before. The first weeks of the humans' arrival had brought hope back to Veyar Prime. Where there had been silence, there was now the sound of machines, laughter, and life. Where there had been hunger, there was now food. Where there had been fear, there was now protection. But peace never lasted long in the galaxy. The scavengers who had been defeated by the humans did not forget their humiliation. They returned to their bases and spoke of the strange newcomers who fought with fire in their eyes. Soon word spread across the starlanes. The Veyari were weak, yes, but now guarded by humans. Reckless humans who challenged raiders without fear. To the pirate lords and war bands who circled dying worlds like vultures, this was an insult that could not be ignored. One night, the humans detected movement at the edges of the system. Dozens of ships, larger and stronger than scavenger craft, were entering orbit. The storm was coming. Inside the Veyari Council chamber, fear filled the air. "They will crush us." High Speaker Malor said, his voice trembling. "We barely survived before. Now the pirates come with fleets. We cannot resist this." Taylor Varn looked at Captain Hale. He stood calm, hands behind his back, eyes sharp. "What will you do?" she asked quietly. Hale gave a small smile. "What humans always do. Adapt. Fight. Find a way." His calmness surprised the Veyari. Most species, when outnumbered, would retreat, call for help, or surrender. But the humans never spoke of retreat. It was as if the word did not exist in their language. The pirates expected an easy fight. They believed the humans were few, their ships old and clumsy. But when they entered the atmosphere, they found a trap. Human engineers had spent the past weeks turning Veyari ruins into defenses. Old farm towers were rebuilt as watchposts. Bridges were lined with explosives. Even the abandoned canals had been filled with sharp metal spikes. When the pirate dropships descended, hidden mines exploded beneath them, tearing their hulls apart. When raider crews marched into the city outskirts, human soldiers used smoke, fire, and noise to confuse them. The pirates shouted in anger. This was not how wars were fought. Other species fought with honor, with straight lines and clear rules. But humans used every trick they could imagine. They used broken glass on the roads to cut enemy boots. They used firebombs hidden in barrels to ignite raider vehicles. They even set false camps with glowing fires to lure the enemy into ambushes. The Veyari watched in disbelief. "This is madness," one elder whispered. "No," Taylor corrected softly, watching humans fight from the walls. "This is survival." On the third night, the pirates broke through the first lines of defense. Hundreds of them poured into the city's edge, firing their weapons wildly. Veyari civilians screamed and ran for cover. But then, something shocking happened. Instead of falling back, the humans charged. Captain Hale himself led the assault. He carried no shield, only a rifle in his hands. His soldiers followed, roaring as they ran through the smoke. The pirates laughed at first. These humans are insane, they thought, running straight at us with fewer numbers, but their laughter died quickly. The humans moved like a storm, firing while running, rolling across the ground, using cover in ways the pirates did not expect. They threw grenades not at groups, but at walls, collapsing buildings onto enemy positions. They shouted loud, confusing the enemy with echoes and fear. One human soldier was hit, blood spilling from his side. But he tied his wound with his own belt, rose again, and kept fighting. The pirates began to hesitate. These humans were not just soldiers. They were wild animals with weapons, refusing to die. Taylor Varn stood on the wall of the council hall, watching in awe. Around her, Veyari citizens also watched, their hearts racing. "They fight like fire," one whispered. "No," another said, eyes wide. "They fight like they have nothing to lose." For the first time, the Veyari realized why the great empires feared humans. It was not their numbers. It was not their technology. It was their will. Days turned into a blur of battle. The pirates launched attack after attack, but the humans always had new tricks. When the pirates used heavy walkers, the humans dug pits and covered them with thin metal sheets so the machines fell into traps. When the pirates used shields, the humans fired smoke grenades, blinding their vision before charging with knives and close combat weapons. When the pirates tried to starve the city, the humans built hidden farms using grow lights powered by their ship engines, producing food underground. Every time the enemy thought they understood the humans changed their way of fighting. The Veyari began to call it the strange ways of humanity. One night after a brutal battle, Captain Hale returned to the council chamber, covered in dirt and blood. High Speaker Mellor stared at him. "Why do you fight this way? It is madness. No plan, no rules. You fight like chaos itself." Hale wiped sweat from his brow. "War is chaos, we just accept it. We don't wait for perfect plans, we act, we improvise, we survive." Taylor Varn's eyes glowed with respect. "And by surviving, you teach us how to live." Slowly, the Veyari themselves began to change. Inspired by the humans, young Veyari took up weapons and joined the fights. They copied human tricks, using traps and noise to drive away raiders. For the first time in their history, the Veyari fought not with fear, but with fury. And beside them always were the humans. The pirates grew desperate. Their leaders shouted that it was shameful to be resisted by such a small force. They gathered their largest ships for one final assault. On the night before the battle, the Veyari city was quiet. Families sat together, afraid of what was to come. In the council chamber, Taylor Varn found Captain Hale standing at the window, staring at the stars. "They are coming in numbers we cannot match," she said softly. "You know this." Hale nodded. "Yes." "Then why do you not fear?" Hale turned his head, his eyes calm. "Because fear won't save us. Action will. If we stand tomorrow even for one more day, then we prove the galaxy wrong. We prove we are not alone." Taylor felt a chill. For the first time, she understood. Humans were not reckless because they were foolish. They were reckless because they refused to surrender. The next day, the largest battle began. Pirate ships rained fire from the skies. Droves of raiders stormed the city. Explosions shook the ground. The humans did not wait. They struck first. Using old tunnels beneath Carrion, they appeared behind enemy lines, throwing grenades into supply wagons. They hacked into pirate comms, sending false orders and making the enemy shoot at each other. They even stole pirate ships in mid-battle, turning the stolen weapons against their former owners. The fighting was fierce. Human soldiers bled, many falling to the ground, but always rising again. The Veyari, seeing this, shouted in fury and joined them. For the first time, the Veyari and humans fought side by side, not as protector and protected, but as allies. By the time the sun set, the ground was covered in smoke and ash. The pirates had lost far more than they expected. Their ships pulled away, limping back into the skies. The city of Carrion still stood. The humans, bloodied but alive, raised their weapons in victory, and in the streets, the Veyari cheered. That night, the galaxy heard the news. Across the stars, other species whispered in disbelief. The humans are holding the line. The humans fight where the great powers would not. The humans are dangerous, but on Veyar Prime there was no fear of the humans, only gratitude. For the Veyari knew the truth. When the galaxy turned away, the humans had come. And when the enemy came to take everything, the humans stood, strange and reckless, but unbroken. The air over Veyar Prime was heavy with smoke. The city of Carrion, though rebuilt and fortified, bore scars of weeks of battle. Broken buildings, smoldering ruins, and scorched plains marked every step. Yet the people moved with a strange new courage. They had seen humans fight, and they had begun to understand what strength truly meant. But even the humans, as fearless as they were, knew the enemy would not stop. Across the skies, the pirate fleet returned. This time, they came in numbers the Veyari had never seen before. Dozens of ships bristling with weapons and engines that roared like thunder filled the orbit. Ground forces, thousands of raiders and mercenaries, advanced toward Carrion from all sides. High Speaker Malor looked down from the council hall balcony, trembling. They will destroy us. Nothing can stop them now. Tayla Varn, standing beside him, clenched her fists. Perhaps, she said quietly, but we do not stand alone. Below, human soldiers readied themselves. Captain Jonathan Hale walked among them, calm and focused. Every man and woman knew the risks. They knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and yet there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. In the city streets, civilians helped the soldiers. Children carried water to the front lines. Women repaired barricades, distributing weapons. The Veyari had never fought like this before. Fear had ruled them for centuries, but now they acted. They fought not for glory, but because the humans showed them that survival was worth every effort. Hale stood at the center of the square, looking at the enemy ships above. "Listen up," he shouted, his voice carrying over the hum of engines and the cries of workers. "They think they can scare us. They think we will run. We will not. We fight for this city, for these people, and for every voice that was ignored in this galaxy." The humans cheered. Their voices rang loud, raw, and unyielding. The Veyari, hearing it, felt a spark of courage ignite in their hearts. The battle began at dawn. Pirate ships fired plasma and missiles, lighting up the skies. Ground forces stormed the streets, armed with blasters and heavy weapons. Their intent was clear: wipe out the humans, kill the Veyari, and claim the city. But the humans were ready. Captain Hale led a team that ran through side streets, using the ruins as cover. Explosions shook the ground behind them, but they pressed forward, throwing grenades and firing with deadly accuracy. Human soldiers moved in ways the pirates did not expect. They rolled through the smoke, climbed ruined walls, and appeared where the enemy least expected. The Veyari, at first hesitant, followed. They copied the humans' movements, learned their tricks, and began to fight back with a fierceness that surprised even themselves. Above the city, human engineers had rigged the rooftops. Towers that once housed communication devices now held automated turrets. Lines of molten wires and energy traps ran across streets. The humans did not fight fair. They fought smart, and the results were devastating. A pirate commander cursed as one of his heavy walkers fell into a pit, crushing dozens of his troops. Another group stumbled into a narrow alley only to be surrounded and captured. The humans never paused. Even when hit, they rose again. Tayla watched from the council hall window as a soldier climbed from the rubble, bleeding but smiling. "This is," she whispered, "this is how courage looks." The battle raged for hours. The pirate leaders realized the humans were not only fighting, but they were teaching the Veyari to fight as well. Civilians, once afraid to hold weapons, now took up rifles and grenades, following human orders. Families barricaded streets and funneled raiders into traps. Children ran with messages between squads. The humans did not see them as weak, They saw everyone as capable of action, and in every corner of the battlefield, the humans improvised. They used fire to push back enemy lines, smoke to blind them, and traps to divide them. Even when a human squad was cut off, they did not panic. They fought, adapted, and found another way. By midday, the pirates realized they had underestimated their opponents. What they thought would be a simple raid had become a nightmare. Humans fought like a storm, wild and unpredictable, and the Vaeri, once terrified and desperate, now struck with courage and skill they never knew they possessed. In the council chamber, High Speaker Malor's hands shook as he watched. They cannot be defeated. Not like this. Tayla nodded. It is not just humans who fight. It is all of us now. The turning point came in the afternoon. The pirates had concentrated their forces on the central square, hoping to capture the council and break the city's heart. Hale saw the Yao movement and knew this was the critical moment. He grabbed a comm unit and shouted orders to every squad. Now move. Hold the square. Do not let them take our people. The humans surged forward, leading the Vaeri with them. They set traps in the streets, fired from rooftops, and charged through alleys. The pirates were caught in chaos, split, confused and terrified of the humans' relentless attacks. One squad of human soldiers climbed a broken tower and fired on the pirate command post. The Vaeri, inspired, charged beside them, throwing grenades and shouting in defiance. The pirates faltered. Hours passed, but the humans never gave in. Even as their numbers dwindled, they fought with courage and resolve. Soldiers fell, but others replaced them immediately. Injured comrades were dragged to safety while the fight continued. At one point, Hale himself was nearly surrounded. Pirates fired from 3 directions, expecting him to die, but he did not retreat. With quick thinking, he threw a smoke grenade, rolled through the debris, and reappeared behind the enemy, taking them by surprise. The Vaeri who saw this could not believe it. No one could do this, whispered Tayla. Yes, replied an elder beside her. Except humans. By evening, the pirates were in retreat. Their heavy ships fled the atmosphere, leaving the streets littered with debris and smoke. The humans, though exhausted and wounded, stood victorious. Tayla walked through the city, seeing the aftermath. Buildings were damaged, streets cracked, and fires burned. But there was life. People were alive. Children were safe. And the humans? They were still moving, still checking traps, still helping the wounded. She approached Hale, who was talking to a group of medics. You did it, she said softly. Hale shook his head. No, we did not. You did. Your people fought. Your people survived. We just showed you how to fight for yourselves. Tayla's eyes filled with tears. She finally understood the lesson humans taught. Courage was not about numbers, technology, or power. It was about will, determination, and the refusal to surrender. That night, the city was quiet. Fires burned in controlled zones. The wounded were cared for. The humans distributed food and water to the citizens, laughing with children despite exhaustion. Tayla sat on the balcony of the council hall looking at the stars. For months, the galaxy had abandoned them. No one had come to help. And yet here they were, humans, dirty, tired, and fearless. They came when no one else would. She whispered. Yes, said Hale, appearing beside her. And we will. Stay until you can stand alone. Tayla nodded. I think we are beginning to understand you. Hale smiled faintly. Then you understand the future. The galaxy may fear humans, may call us reckless, but we fight for what is right. We fight for life. That is all that matters. The sun rose over Vaer Prime, casting light on a city that had been tested by fire and blood. Carrion had survived. Buildings were scarred, streets littered with rubble, and smoke still rose from the outskirts. But the people walked among the ruins with heads held high because they had endured. The humans stood among them, not as conquerors, but as companions. Captain Jonathan Hale and his soldiers moved through the city, checking traps, repairing barricades, and distributing food. They laughed with children, spoke with citizens, and treated the wounded with gentle hands. The Veyari stared. Never had a species acted with such courage and care, without thought of reward or recognition. Other empires would have demanded tribute or credit. Humans had come simply because they could. The pirate threat had not vanished entirely. Scattered groups still lingered in the outer systems, licking their wounds and whispering curses. But the humans had taught the Veyari to fight. They had shown them strategies, traps, and improvisation. The Veyari were no longer helpless. They had courage, skills, and the humans' unbreakable will to guide them. Tayla Varn stood in the central square, watching a group of young Veyari practice with human instructors. Blasters were fired at target dummies, obstacles were climbed, and grenades thrown into safe zones. The air was filled with energy, laughter, and the sound of determination. For the first time in history, the Veyari felt they could survive without begging the galaxy for help. Captain Hale approached Tayla, his uniform still dirty from weeks of fighting. His voice was calm but firm. "Your people fought well. You've learned faster than I expected." Tayla smiled. "We had the best teachers." Hale shook his head. "No. You had your own courage. We just showed you it existed. Humans fight. Yes, but we do not give courage, we only inspire it. That comes from within." The words sank deep into her heart. She realized that the lesson of humanity was far greater than victory. It was about willpower, resolve, and self-belief. Across the galaxy, news of the humans' deeds spread like wildfire. HoloNet channels buzzed with reports of a small fleet standing against overwhelming numbers, defending an alien civilization that no one else had answered. Some species laughed, claiming the humans were lucky or reckless. Others watched silently, disbelief in their eyes. And yet, every species began to reconsider what they knew of humanity. The humans had no vast fleets, no ancient empires, no formal alliances, and yet they had fought where all others had fled. They had saved a civilization abandoned by the galaxy. They had inspired hope where there had been none. The whispers grew louder. Humans are not to be underestimated. In the council chamber of Carrion, High Speaker Malor finally spoke to the gathered leaders. His hands shook, but his voice was strong. They came when no one else would. They risked themselves without thought for gain. They taught us to fight, to hope, and to survive. If the galaxy does not respect them, it is blind. If we forget them, we are fools. Tayla added, "We have learned something more than tactics or medicine. We have learned that courage is not measured in ships or weapons, but in the choice to act when no one else will." The council fell silent, understanding that the humans had changed not only their city, but their entire perspective on life, courage, and the galaxy itself. The humans did not stay long after the final battle. They repaired what they could, trained the Veyari, and then prepared to depart. Captain Hale stood on the ramp of the UEFS Resolute, looking back at the city. Tayla approached him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Will you return?" she asked. Hale smiled faintly. "If we are needed, yes. But we do not wait to be needed. Humans help when we can. That is all. The rest is up to you." Tayla nodded. She felt pride and hope, but also sadness. The humans had become more than allies. They had become symbols of what was possible. The engines of the human ships roared to life. Dust and smoke spiraled into the sky. The fleet lifted, carrying the humans away from Veyar Prime, leaving behind a civilization forever changed. The Veyari did not mourn their departure. They celebrated them. Streets were decorated with colors and lights. Children waved flags shaped like human ships. Statues were erected of soldiers helping citizens. And everywhere in every heart the humans' lesson lived on. That courage, determination, and the choice to act could turn despair into hope. Tayla walked through the city streets, speaking to children who ran past, laughing. "Remember them," she said. "Remember what they taught us. Never forget that we can survive, even when the galaxy turns away." Across the stars, other species took note. Rumors spread of humans who fought without fear, who saved strangers, who risked everything for no reward. Some empires scoffed, dismissing them as reckless fools. Others studied them quietly, trying to understand their ways. The galaxy began to change, not because of treaties or politics, but because of stories of bravery. Humans had shown a truth that no bureaucracy could enforce, that courage, empathy, and action were more powerful than fear, rules, or power alone. And somewhere, in the quiet of space, a young human pilot spoke to her crew. "We didn't save them to be heroes. We saved them because we could. That's what humans do." Veyar Prime healed slowly, but it healed. Farms grew again, rivers ran clear, and children laughed in the streets. The scars of battle remained. Yes, but they were reminders of what had been overcome. Tayla often walked past the training grounds, watching Veyari soldiers practice the tactics humans had taught them. She knew they were ready for anything. She knew that the galaxy could no longer dismiss her people. And she knew that the humans had done more than fight battles. They had given the Veyari something priceless: belief in themselves. In the council chamber, Malor spoke again. "We were abandoned by the galaxy. We were left to die, but we were saved by humans. Let every species know. When no other hand reaches out, humanity comes. And perhaps we should all take note of their courage." Tayla looked out at the horizon, imagining the humans traveling across the stars, helping others who had been forgotten. She felt hope swell in her chest. When no one else answered, humans came. It was a truth that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Not because humans demanded recognition, not because they sought power, but because they believed in action, in courage, and in the value of life. And in that belief, the galaxy had glimpsed something it had never truly understood before: the power of humanity. The stars of Veyar Prime shone brighter that night. Fires of victory, hope, and courage burned in every home. Children whispered tales of humans who fought like storms and healed like angels. Elders smiled, finally understanding that strength was not only in fleets or empires, but in the heart and will to act. And far above, humans moved on to the next call, the next plea, the next desperate voice. Wherever the galaxy was silent, wherever fear reigned, they would come. Because that was who humans were, that was their gift.